Nothing is really separate from anything else. February 9, 2014. We said at the end of our last message that we would continue speaking of the source of your personal power. We shall do that. This is a topic which could be discussed at great length, so do not be surprised if we do not finish it today. We have decided to have you compare two different imaginary persons and let you discover for yourselves how the differences we propose would affect them. For the purpose of this comparison we give you a personality called John and another we shall name Ray. You will see that you know many who have similarities to John, and not so many, perhaps like Ray. Now John thinks he is separate from everything else he sees around him or even imagines. John thinks he is religious, but his understanding of religion is that he could be condemned by his deity or saved from that by someone or some belief. John thinks that he has very limited power. His God is all-powerful, but his God is separate from him. John knows that he is born a sinner and that he is also guilty of many other things that he is unsure he can be forgiven for. John knows he has only one life and therefore he must get it right. John's only hope is that his version of God is the correct one and therefore he has to know that any other version cannot be. He clings to it like a life raft. John feels that he is mostly powerless to control his life. Life happens to him. We could continue in this vein for quite a long time. Now let's look at Ray. Ray's understanding of reality is far different. Ray knows that everything he perceives, solid or otherwise, is really just differing energies. He can see that this leads to the understanding that nothing is really separate from anything else. That means to Ray that he is not at all separate from the energy of creation. The energy of creation is the source and substance of Ray's being. Ray knows that the only being in the universe that judges his own actions and thoughts is himself. Therefore he chooses to forgive himself and all others. Ray knows that every thought he has and every intent is what goes into producing the life he is leading. Ray knows that, since nothing is separate from him, his God and his higher self are a part of him and know his every desire, intent, and need. And again, we could go on and on. Do you see how the two persons we are imagining would be living very different lives? Do you see how their beliefs would cause them to do so? Can you also see how the energy, the power, the love of creation would flow unobstructed through one and not the other? Now, so far we are discussing theories, correct? That is unless you personally identify with one or the other example. But we propose that you consider a decision to become more like Ray and far less like John. Move the discussion from theory to experience and see what changes happen in your life. We are not proposing that anyone change from one religion to another. But we are proposing a different understanding of the age-old principles involved in the beliefs they are based upon. And the root belief of all? Try this on. The energy of my Creator flows through me. See how that might change everything. As you might see, changing some of these root beliefs would cause one to act very differently in one's life. A lack of guilt feelings would give one more confidence. Knowing oneself as being loved unconditionally by creation would give one an unshakable self-worth. That self-confidence and self-worth would translate into very different responses to life. And think about the confidence of knowing that you are trusted enough to have been given, not only Creator's life energy, but the free will to use it however you see fit. At first that may seem like an awesome responsibility. But consider what it means as far as responsibility. These are weighty topics, are they not? And we promise we will be more lighthearted next time. But we felt that many who are awakening at this time are needing to get a big jump start on their way. There is a lot of old baggage that may need to be tossed. This discussion today may serve to point out the why of that. Remember, until next time, we are one thought away from you. Good day. Archangel Michael, with the counsels of higher selves. Channeled by Ron Head. oraclesandhealers.wordpress.com